Hey guys, so I just finished recording my end of hiatus updates. You'll be able to tell probably because I'm wearing the same clothes I was wearing in that video. And I am now moving on now to episode 12 of Hunter x Hunter. And now we are moving into the 50-hour wait, right? We betted away 50 hours and now we're stuck in this room. I'm assuming that phase 3 is going to end this episode. I would be very, very surprised if it didn't. So yeah, I don't really have much to say because the last couple episodes have been fairly self-explanatory. If this is the phase of the end of phase 3, which I assume it is because this is episode 12, and generally speaking, I'm not massively knowledgeable on anime yet, but if my knowledge is correct, I believe 12 episodes is usually like one core, right? There's 2 cores in a season, and 12 episodes is usually one core, which means it would make sense for this section to end on this episode, right? That would make sense. So yeah, I don't have much to say. I just want to get into this episode, so let's get into it. Alright then, I gotta say, I have enjoyed this arc, but I have to admit I am a little bit disappointed with how the tower turned out. Like, I think instead of spending 3 episodes on the prison battle and then 1 episode basically just sat in a room, I think I would have preferred, because I mentioned during that montage where they were seeing them running away from boulders and going over fallen platforms, it would have been nice to see some of that, you know? It would have been cool to actually see them go through all these different challenges and puzzles and stuff, you know? It's like, I've enjoyed the last few episodes, but I would be lying to you if I said I wouldn't have probably preferred it if it went down that route of instead of because this is supposed to be reach the bottom of the tower within 72 hours, right? That sound, that kind of lends itself naturally to maybe 4 or 5 episodes in which they're going through multiple different challenges, like 2-3 challenges per episode, and they have to really work together to overcome them, that kind of thing. But instead it was only 2 challenges, and one of them took up 3 episodes, and one of them was just to wait 50 hours in a room, and it wasn't even a challenge, it was just, And technically that final thing with the door was a challenge as well, but out of the 3 challenges that we had to overcome, the 4 challenges, we had to overcome, 2 of them were going through the right door, one of them was waiting in a room for 50 hours. It's it was good, but I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't have preferred something with a little bit more variety, right? But then we were waiting in the room, right? And we got some nice character stuff in the room. Leorio was starting to feel that guilt was starting to seep in about him having screwed everything up and cost everyone 50 hours, right? He was starting to really feel that guilt. Tomper was really just drilling that into his head, right? That guilt, they was pushing it even further. And that's the thing with Tomper is this episode really made me dislike him. But technically, a lot of the stuff he said was true, right? A lot of the stuff he said was completely true. And, as much as I dislike him, I'm not going to just blindly disagree with him just because I dislike him, right? He's an asshole, I do not like him. But I have to at least admit that while I don't like him, he wasn't completely wrong this episode. He did say a lot of stuff that was genuinely true, and that's kind of the thing with his character so far, right? He's a dickhead, but he's not necessarily incorrect in a lot of cases, right? He's one of those people you don't want to admit that they're right, but oftentimes they are right. And that's kind of just how it is. But we got a lot of nice little character stuff in there with Killua. I know it's pronounced Killua, but I keep saying Killua just out of habit. But yeah, Killua teaching Gon how to use the skateboard, and then in return Gon teaching Killua how to use the fishing pole. It was some nice little stuff, and then the pillow fight, that was really cute. Lots of really nice stuff. And then, and then, what was next? I don't know, we got the thing about Killua, about how he can stay up for 2 or 3 days at a time, he mentioned. But that makes sense though, being an assassin, it would make sense you'd want to be able to stay up for a very long time. It reminds me of Warhammer 40k, where you've got those sniper assassins who can stay up for 48 hours just staring through a scope, you know, waiting hours and hours and hours and hours on end without sleep, just waiting for that perfect opportunity to shoot and get that perfect shot, right? It reminds me a lot of that, where he's like, he's this assassin he's immune to poison, he can sleep, he can go days without sleep, like, he's a real tough boy. He's got, I feel like, I wonder just how much more stuff we're going to learn about him, about his abilities and his capabilities. I was actually watching the normies' reaction to Hunter x Hunter over in my free time, and they really, at this point, at the point I'm at in their reaction, they are not a fan of Killua. They think he's like going to be a villain, and that's an interesting perspective. I mean, I guess it's possible he'll become a villain. I've got no evidence suggesting otherwise, but I don't really get that from him. I feel like, I mean, maybe in like 100 episodes or something, right? But I feel like I'm not getting that vibe from him. You know, I'm getting the troubled hero vibe, not the troubled villain vibe, you know? But yeah. Oh, and yeah, and then we were learning about all the other people as well who had escaped, who had made it out. How many people went into this challenge? It was 42 people. 40 people because Killer had killed those 2 people on the ship. So 40 people went in and 25 got out. So only 15 people didn't make it through the challenge. They said that 1 died. I don't know if that means that 1 died out of all of them, or that 1 died and 14 withdrew without dying. I find that kind of hard to believe, though, looking at how deadly some of the traps were that we faced. I find it difficult to believe that only 1 person died out of all that, you know? But I guess it's possible that... what am I thinking? I guess it's possible that you could say that by this point in the test, everyone who's made it this far is so skilled that they're not going to just die like that. Like, all the people who are going to die to this sort of thing have already died, and by this point we're reaching the level where people are going to survive. Oh, I just remembered that 1 guy died trying to get through the building, didn't he? He climbed down and got snatched up, so 39 people actually only made it into the building. So yeah, only 14 people then, out of all of them, or 15 people actually. 15 people made it and one of them just happened to die when they made it through, right? So that's only 14 people had to withdraw before making it to the end. I found the thing where they had to choose which door to go through pretty interesting, because because it was a thing where I wasn't sure, but it seemed to me like it was a thing where you can either take the difficult path, where all of you have to work together, or you can choose the easy path, but 2 of you have to be left behind. Right? That makes sense, right? So it's like a... So, and that was a very interesting choice they had to make. I like that a lot. I didn't immediately realize that, because when they started talking about potentially going down the 3-person route, I was like, oh, wait a minute, sorry, they can't be left behind for good, because, I mean, these characters aren't going to be left behind because they're our main characters, but they're talking about the 3-person route. So that's what kind of, for a moment, I thought maybe that someone would come back to get the 2 people left behind after the remaining 3 had made it through, or something like that. But in hindsight, no, it makes more sense that they would have to stay behind forever and not make it through the test. That makes more sense. And we also got to see that Gon is smart. He is resourceful. I've gone on about how smart and resourceful Killua is, but Gon in his own right is very smart, right? Like, it reminds me back in episode 7 when they were trying to get the ball from the guy from Notaro. I can't remember what he's called. I can't remember what his name is, but the old guy, the chairman, the guy who's like running this thing at the moment. And Gon kicked off his shoes to increase his range. Like, that was a very smart thing. And you can see that from time to time, right? Gon, he doesn't look like the smartest boy, he doesn't look like the brightest bulb in the bulb shop, but I'm showing my own intelligence there, but he clearly is resourceful and intelligent when he needs to be, right? When it counts, he can pull out a lot of stuff that no one else might have thought of, right?